Live stream is on.
It's on. It's on or off?
On.
It's on. Okay. Elena, are you ready? Good morning. I now call the March 7th, 2019 special work session of the Marion County School Board to order at 9 a.m. Please silence your electronic devices to avoid disturbing others. I now ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for this board meeting.
Good morning. This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meetings and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form and hand it to the school board secretary. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the secretary will call speakers' names in the order received. At the podium, speakers are asked to state their full name and address and to spell their last names. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by the Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout this meeting. Speakers may criticize subject matter and decisions in a respectful manner, but not people. Finally, speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning their names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these rules.
Thank you. We will now begin the work session with the superintendent's briefing.
Thank you. Just a few quick things. Ms. Dobbins, can you come up? She's going to explain why we had an adjustment to the documents that are on this upcoming board meeting Tuesday, and then we have another adjustment that she needs to explain to you that you'll see.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Madam Chair, Reverend Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent Mayor, Mrs. Lopez, Mr. Gibbs. The first change, first, I apologize for any confusion or inconvenience I've caused by changing documents. But after we uploaded the school staffing plan and another scrubbing of the numbers, this staffing plan, and we're referring to this document here, is a massive Excel spreadsheet that's formulated, and I missed the formulas being off. And so some of our numbers were mistabulating, and so we noticed that after the fact, went back, recalculated the formulas, and reattached a revised school staffing plan. So that was that adjustment, and again, I apologize for that confusion there. The second one is after we had already uploaded the job description for the school security specialist. In a late conversation with Mr. Gibbs, we made some verbal changes, language changes. That language was a title from certificate to law enforcement status because it seemed kind of redundant in that job description. So it was a title change under the qualifications sections. And again, I'm sorry for that confusion and inconvenience on changing that document as well. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And then, Mr. Gibbs, if you'll tag team with me here. On the March 26th board meeting, we have an agreement pending. And how serendipitous, the chief is here. We have an agreement pending for OPD for the special officers, the folks that sit with us at night. But it's also impacting our sporting events. So Mr. Gibbs is going to circle back around.
Right.
Help us with that.
The contract is going, we struck out a provision on there that it's for a personal guarantee of whoever signs it. Obviously, we strike that out every year. It's usually not a problem. We're just waiting on OPD. They sent us a signed one, but it was the red line version, and I asked them to remove that, so they said they're going to send it to Mr. Gilligan over there, and he'll get it back to us as soon as possible. But they are posting our jobs on their board, and they're at the current existing rates, and Mr. Gilligan said that they get to sign up voluntarily, but he expects that they will be filled, but it might not be our usual person. So.
Thank you. And then I wanted to let you know that we're updating the school safety website, and we had a great meeting yesterday with Kevin and Dennis and I, and we were sitting there trying to think through how this should look so it's very transparent. So you'll see some updates on that. But what we're going to do is have a link where you can click on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act. There'll be a hyperlink. It'll take you to a page where you'll see the actual verbiage, the actual legislation, and then next to it will be links to what we have done to meet those mandates, so that anybody can see, parents, community members can see what we're actually doing to make sure that we are in compliance with that. And then finally, I wanted to let you know an update on the discussion we had at last work session about the books that some folks are challenging. I went back to the Tea Party group and I took folders, one for each book. So there were 14 folders, and in each folder there was a cover letter that said, you know, thank you for your concern, and here are the documents you need to complete. Because there is procedure, there is policy and procedure when somebody has an issue with one of the books in the library. And so I walked them through the paperwork, and it's now in their hands. But I did meet with some curriculum folks, and we have the committee ready to go when that paperwork is returned. So that's, I'll keep you updated on when we get that back, and then that timeline starts from that day. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we begin with our school resource officers, I'm going to ask John McGowan just to come up for a minute, just to make sure we're on the same page, and out of respect that you have a busy day ahead of you, I'm sure. Yesterday, John and I had some discussion because I think we were throwing a lot of different dates and things at him. So, John, and if I messed up, make sure you correct me because I was writing things down real quick. What we agreed upon is that on Tuesday night, we will give the middle and high school academic performance. Is that correct? Are you guys fine with that? Okay. And then also, are we okay if we receive the attendance and the discipline through email rather than having a full presentation for, 50 plus schools? Are we okay with that? Yes. Okay, so if you have questions, John, I'm sure would be glad to show you how to navigate through that. Okay. And then also, we will receive the Evergreen data on March 15th. And
is that a workshop?
no, actually, that's just, he will just be emailing the data. And then on April 2nd, he will present all of the elementary schools' academic reports on April 2nd. Is that right?
So what we had originally, from what I can recall, at the last work session, what we originally had agreed upon was for next Tuesday's board meeting was going to be attendance and discipline for all schools, but academic only for middle and high, because you had not yet received that for quarter two.
Right.
And so, Ms. King, that's what we had discussed even for next Tuesday, possibly just emailing that information because of the length of
Right.
all of that. It would
Yes.
be, all of that combined would be about 60 or 70 slides. That's a
Right,
lot of
yeah.
information for a board meeting. So,
No.
so our discussion was, from this point on for academic updates for you all, since we're kind of going beyond the scope of just our turnaround schools and all the schools, would be emailing the information to you instead of a presentation. So just, what your thoughts and feedback on that are. But specifically for next week, it would be attendance and discipline data for all schools and only academic for secondary. And then for April 2nd would be attendance, discipline, and academic data for all schools, elementary, middle, and high. So unless that, if that's okay, I can certainly just email all that information to you.
I'm fine with that, but I hate to wait till April 2nd to bring in educational directions. I know they're going to Tallahassee for the state board meeting, so maybe there'll be more information than that.
When's the state board meeting?
It's over spring break, the 19th. We're just getting down to the wire with them, and when I look at the data that they have provided on those scrimmages in the last report that we received, I am very unclear, as I'm sure even administration is, what are they testing? Who are they testing? They're not testing all the kids. And I'm just really concerned that we're going to get down to this wire, and they're telling us one thing, but I think we may see something else. So I'm just, our concern was their assessment that looks kind of rosy, What are they testing?
And I'm with you.
Who are they testing?
I'm with you because that was my concern when they came here.
Yeah.
I felt that they were making it too flowery for us when the things that I know are not the same. The scores that I'm getting or the things that I'm seeing, the data I've been seeing is that we're in some bad situations at some of those schools.
Using the two different views of iReady really jumped out
Right.
at me. And, you know, I think they're already saying that they're not feeling like they're going to make it. You know, not even on learning gains. Well, it would be on learning gains because so many kids are so many grade levels behind. And it's very concerning.
And I know we can get the reports on iReady and the QSMAs from you, but you don't even have a clue what they're assessing.
Right.
Yeah, because like any school, I mean, they can, you know, give their own assessment. I mean, or it's no different than a teacher-created assessment.
But they, you know, they touted in their presentation to us how they would have their own assessments and that their assessments were tied into the standards and all of that. And
Well, when I got a copy of them, and do you recall when I gave them to you and you looked through them, can you share a little bit about?
Yeah, so that was, I believe, right at the beginning of the year, or whenever we first heard that they were administering those. And we did review them. We didn't go through every single line of every single one, I will say that. However, what we did review looked like it was pulled from other more curriculum-based resources. And what we noticed, that it was not tied to standards, it was not written to the depth and the breadth of the standard, nor were they written to the item specifications like they would see on the state test, which our QSMAs are. So my thought would be that's why we're seeing the difference in the data on those two pieces. But again, I haven't looked at them since that point. But
I mean, if the board's comfortable with April 2nd, but I want them to have to step into the hot coals a little bit.
Well, and let's make sure we're really ready for them. I think that's one reason why we talked about April 2nd compared to others. And Evergreen's been struggling for a long time, but there's process concerns, you know. The fact that the kids aren't getting the same amount of minutes of reading remediation as our other schools are, just because of the way they've set up their MTSS. And then just not having information at a glance. If 0% of your kids are at 70% on a standard in January, then where is that follow-up? Right, and not being able to provide that was very concerning to me as a teacher, would be, you know, just regardless.
Yeah, and as a reminder, so whenever it's decided that information is presented to you by them, you know, like was already mentioned, on the 15th, next Friday, once the QSMA window closes, that is specifically for Evergreen what I will email you. So you will have it as soon as that window closes.
Okay.
You'll have that via email to you.
I hope they're listening because
Yeah.
I don't think they really understand our concern. And I do have a pretty big concern about this.
It's a very
I
challenging
know
school. and we
it
want
ends
them
on
to
the
have it.
15th, and then we have a spring break. So truthfully, I don't think they could come in before April 2nd.
I think that's why we
So
agreed.
that's why that
Okay.
date was chosen. But
So we're good for April 2nd still?
yeah,
But Dr. Mayor, if
Ma'am?
I want to know, I don't want them to come, I don't want a broad overview of this scrimmage information. I want to know, what are they testing? Who are they testing? And I don't know how we actually do that, since they're,
Well, I can tell you that every conference call we have with them, we ask it, and they don't answer. And we have the state sitting in on that call too, and they talk all
around
around it. I can tell you, though, that this sits heavy on my heart, on Jen Beck's heart. She and I have lots of conversations. She has put more of her staff into Evergreen than she has sprinkled over the rest of the district. So, you know, our people are in there, the coaches are in there, she's in there.
we're basically helping run the school that they're supposed to run for 400.
We are running the school.
we're supposed to be running the school. My
no.
understanding is that they come in, but we're working together, right?
We are supposed to be working together, but we're
Correct.
not. We're not. We gave them $400,000, and we continue to pump more resources in, which we're going to do because those are our kids. But they have taken $400,000 of taxpayer money, and we're not seeing anything for it from their side.
There's no return on investment. That's what you're saying.
and that'll be,
I'm curious, we don't have a test, we don't have any test scores in, like, from the FSA to know if we have return on investment or not at this point. I mean, I know we can kind of look, engage, but for us to say that we don't at this point, I mean, I would say that
Well,
cautiously.
I'm just
I would
saying,
cautiously
Kelly,
say
when
that.
when I look at these reports, I'm just saying there's a lot of fluff. And I know that they are there more than they were. But it was a pretty clear directive that the external operator was running the school, and they're not.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Moore, are you
fine.
going to get in touch with them then and ask them to come on this second?
We did, which,
Okay.
yeah, so I was concerned about changing it, but good, we're
Okay,
good.
we'll leave that. Also, going back to Tuesday night, rather than receive the discipline and attendance information for the elementary, can we just receive that by email rather than having a long presentation?
I'm fine.
Okay, so
And
we're
then
good
just
with
look
that.
at the secondary?
And just look at
Yeah,
strictly secondary.
So I will be presenting secondary.
Secondary.
Okay. Okay, and
Ju-
then for April the 2nd, because again, that will be all data for all schools. That's going to be a lot of information.
Okay, so on April 2nd, let's do elementary. And then the following, I think I had April 18th, or if there's another date that's more convenient or better for you, middle and high school, rather than combine them, because that's a lot to put in one.
There's a board meeting the 9th.
I have the 18th. Is that a work session or?
Yes.
We
18th.
talked about a
Work
work session,
sessions.
so we could really drill down.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, so April the 2nd is a work session, so that'll just be elementary.
Correct.
And the 18th of April will be secondary.
Yes.
And then for next Tuesday, the attendance and discipline via email and presenting secondary.
Correct.
Okay.
We're
Yes,
good.
ma'am. And then going forward, are you still looking for, because again, if we're expanding beyond just our L300, which is what we typically present, and we go to all schools, this is just a lot more information. So is the intent to still present it, but to break it out in sections, kind of like we're doing?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Just the academic, I think we're comfortable if the attendance and the discipline, if you just want it monthly, just pop us that email. Because like I said, that should be at your fingertips, and then it will just be academic.
just circling back around quickly to Evergreen, when they do their presentation, is it appropriate to ask them to present their iReady data in the same view that we use?
I would
So
believe
that we're
so.
comparing apples
would
to
believe so.
apples?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, are we good?
We're good.
Okay, thank you.
Here's my.
I think we confused them. Okay, now we're going to move forward with our school resource officers update. Mr. McFadden, I don't know if you wanted to, or what you. I can do it for you if you want.
Well, I think, good morning to everybody.
Morning.
I think this morning is where we really wanted to have Sheriff Woods come up and our Chief Graham as well as Chief Holland and explain the SRO contracts and how they are planning to move forward. Last year, we really got into the game real late and it really caused some struggles. So we really want to make sure that this year we get ahead of that and not wait until end of April, May to try to get these SRO contracts done. We are looking ahead to try to maybe do 3-year contracts so that we don't have to do this every year. Because we know we have to do them, so why not just do them on a 3-year basis? So if Sheriff Woods want to come up and explain the Marion County Sheriff's Office, as then Chief Graham can come up and explain OPD, and Chief Holland can do Bellevue.
Speak to Mr. McFadden for a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
While you're up there, when you said do a 3-year contract, we don't even know what the legislation's going to be year to year. How can we do 3-year?
Well, because we're meeting the mandate. The mandate simply says we have to have an armed SRO, which is a school resource officer that's sworn, either the guardians or an SSO. As of right now, based on our financial needs and situations and what's best for this district, we have proposed or looking out as a 3-year contract for SROs. We know that SROs are there. They've been there since the beginning of all of this here, and we think that right now, they're the best option that we have.
I agree, but
Well, let's hear what Sheriff Woods is going to present to us, and then I think we can make an informed decision. But we do need to make some decisions moving forward so they know how to staff
They
and
know
we
how to
know
staff.
where we're heading also.
I'll add the contracts generally have an out provision, so if after any school year we say, hey, next year we want to move it, we can always give notice and get out.
okay, okay.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Superintendent. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, one of the reasons that we're here is to help us get a clear direction. Dr. Mayer's schedule and my schedules are extremely busy, and it's difficult for us always to get together. So, plus, to dispel rumors of all kinds of stuff, we all hear the rumors, and it's always better to get it from the horse's mouth and find out what direction. I'm not quite sure what y'all exactly are asking or looking for. I'll start with this. All three of us, Chief Holland and Chief Graham had to leave, so I'm going to be up here somewhat. Ironically, Major Woods is here on his behalf. We all have agreed to do a 3-year contract, okay? And the 3-year contract gives you a guarantee that the price is not going to raise up. It'll stay at the contract of what we offered. I have met with a few of y'all, not all of y'all, but I met with a few of y'all. I have gone to extreme measures for y'all to help. And I know there's a conflict between, and I'll be blunt, between City Council and this board over the years. And I've tried to cut where I can for you in this, and I've offered up per deputy, for my side, is $60,000 per deputy for that 3-year contract. Not raising it during that 3 years. I'll eat any of the typical cost in which you receive from FRS, workman's comp, health insurance over that 3-year period. The city has their proposal, which I have it here with me, of what their cost is, and you've already received Chief Holland's proposal or contract as well. Now, that comes to, basically, is my contract would be a total of $2.22 million. The OPD contract total would be $1.348 million. And you've got Bellevue in there correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, because I'm going off of what you had last year, 53,617.
3% increase in this year.
A 3% increase on top of that. So you're going to be looking at $3.61 million roughly of the all total of the contracts. That is less than last year's total of the contracts. Not a huge amount, but it is a savings. So I will stop right there in case you got questions, because we can go on further in other directions. So, yes, ma'am.
How much are the deputies like for the county, city, Ocala, and Bellevue? How much are the individual amounts? Like you've got 60,000 for your deputy,
Yes, ma'am. How much does it cost me per deputy?
but the other guys?
What is the city charging us per deputy?
Okay, well, the city has, what they do is each officer, they have each officer's salary in there. It ranges from 48,000 to, roughly looking in, that's just the salaries, to, I think I see 80,000 in here. So there's a wide range in there. I think your average is around 70-something, 71, 72. I'm doing a guess because I didn't do their math. I'm not sure the major has that off of there. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
If the total is $1,385,712, using 18 officers, if we're having 18 officers, that cost would be $76,984 for OPD. But it also includes additional costs. That's not just the straight
Correct.
officer costs.
That's correct.
What is Bellevue's?
53.
57 per officer?
And it's just one officer.
Well, it's only one. They only have one officer.
Right.
57.
That's less, that's fine.
So does the 60, the 76, and the 57 all encompass the same amount of service and?
Yes, ma'am. It's all the same. One of the things that we did is, in the beginning of this, right after our shooting, we created one unit, okay? So that we have a cooperation of that, one, to ensure that we're all on the same page and that each of our citizens are being served the highest possible quality, okay? We all can do things. So we're all on the same page. Obviously, we each have different costs and different salaries and all that. One of the things that I help you and helping the city is obviously they've got their operational cost and their capital outlay in there as well of what they're charging you. I have not charged you for that. And to give you a little clearer picture, I laid it out. What it is costing me is roughly $1.16 million is what I am not charging you, what would be in there each year for all of my deputies. Because a deputy's salary is roughly, and I'm going on the low ball, is already at 72.4, right around there. The total package, operating costs, is what it is for me. And I've lowered it to that 60,000 for you, to help in this cost effectiveness. So hopefully I answered some of your questions. They use all the salaries. Mine is broken down in one flat rate for each of my deputies.
All right. Ms. McCall?
Ms. Boston Ellis, what did we pay this year? Is this about the same I heard Sheriff Wood say?
3.728 million, 505.
Okay. So this is a little bit less. And again, I go back to the fact that the sheriff, the chief, both chiefs helped us sell the referendum to our community, and a part of that was to be able to have the SROs in our schools. So I feel there's a trust in the community that they want the SROs in the schools, and I'm comfortable with this, and because we said yes, the extra money from the referendum would help pay for the SROs. I would not want us to move away from that at this point.
I agree with Ms. McCall.
Me too.
Well, I think we all want the schools to be safest. Me personally, I prefer to see SROs in the schools versus the guardians. So I'd rather for it to be a law enforcement officer.
I appreciate that. And I think in our meeting, we talked, Mr. Cummings, in regards to Marion County is a model. There's many things that we do that people don't realize in our community. One of the cooperation, you've heard me say this, and I mean it sincerely. The cooperation that we have is unmatched to the majority of the counties. You know, we have a model, and what I have found out lately in two of my conferences is there's two more counties that stepped up to the plate to like what we have of having the SROs and then supplement it with some of the guardians in there, which is about, it's not perfect, but it's about as best of security that you can provide for our students and our citizens out here. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate Board Member McCall bringing up about the sales tax, because we were here to help y'all, and we did. Myself and the chiefs, we went out there for you to help you in regards to that. And I know two board members, you're new and you weren't there at that time, but y'all asked us, and we went out there and we helped you. And Ms. McCall is correct. I think it would be disingenuous for us to change and divert from that, for what we told the citizens of Marion County why we're doing it. And I'm going to throw this out there for y'all, because I don't want y'all to think that in any shape, way, or form we're trying to cheat you, short you, or get something over on you. Y'all receive funding from the state of Florida to help you with this. Not a single one of us receive a single dime from the state of Florida to fund us. And I told you the $1.2 million or $1.166 million, That includes the supervisors that we have to have, and they're solely dedicated to the program. I don't get a dime from the state of Florida to do that. It comes directly out of my budget, which I am more than willing to do. I will spend every single dime, not just to protect the schools, but I will spend every dime to protect you, your home, your family, and your neighbors. Because that's, well, one, it's in my heart. That's what I love doing. And that's protecting the people of Marion County. And that includes every one of y'all. So, any more questions?
Well, I just want to be real clear that all three agencies have agreed to this 3-year contract, and that next year we're not going to come back from the city or the county or Bellevue and say, well, I know what we said, but our costs have increased, and so I just want to be real sure that we're going to lock this in for 3 years.
Yes, ma'am. I will go on record. I spoke to Chief Graham prior to this and obviously days before. He is in agreement, well, him and City Council, I should say. City Council. And that's something y'all, I don't know if y'all realize that Chief Graham is limited, okay, what he can negotiate. It's City Council. But City Council and Major, please.
Okay. I would just like to hear from somebody from this city.
Absolutely. Good morning, Board. Major Tarwood of the Ocala Police Department, and yes, I did speak with the chief, and they are in agreement to going forward with a 3-year contract if approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And what they've given me, for the record, for you, is the Marion County School Board portion of their contract, because I don't have their contract in front of me, but I do have their spreadsheet, is $1.38,233,000. So.
And I believe, just for clarification, you're also covering summer school, right?
That is absolutely correct. And just so you know, we're adjusting, at least in my contract, I don't know, I'm pretty sure they have, but in our contract, we're making sure that the summer schools are covered for you. Because I told you that. I'm not going to back up on my word. I told you I would. Mr. Cummings, we were in the meeting. I told you we would cover the summer schools, and we will. And part of it is because I know that y'all and even us in law enforcement, what is summer school? It's a broad, they have not clearly said what it is. We debate, is it the programs and all the extracurricular stuff? However, we have found where statute for the education portion statutes, they define what it is. There's a particular word, so we've added it in there so that at least that covers both of us in a degree, and you'll see it coming, Mr. Gibbs, in the contract to cover the summer schools.
So let me ask, just for clarification, the extracurricular, like the football games, any sporting events, that will be separate from these SRO
Falls
contracts?
under special duty, yeah.
Okay, so that doesn't change?
Right, yeah, no, like a lot of districts didn't have coverage for summer school last summer, and I know this was an issue when we talked about it, and I just wanted you guys to know for that 60, you're also getting the summer school coverage.
Okay. And then the special events are just?
Yeah, that would be the special duty contracts.
Okay.
And Sheriff Woods, now, you're going to cover the Dunellen area, you're currently covering Dunellen, correct?
Yes.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So Dunellen PD didn't,
No,
that's the agreement that you guys have, right?
that is correct. I cover for them. They can't afford it.
Gotcha.
Okay, and I would like to go on the record
Yes, ma'am.
to say, I do support the Guardian Program.
Okay.
I do support SROs being at the school, but I also support as many guardians at the school to back up the SRO, because had there been guardians in South Florida, in Broward County, things might have been different. That coach, had he been a guardian or had somebody there been a guardian, things would have happened different because the SRO couldn't be found with a search warrant hardly that day. So, because it was a large school anyway. And so I know he took a lot of heat for what he did, but still, he couldn't be everywhere. And so I do support guardians. I support as many in the schools as possible to back up the SRO, and I want to go on the record saying that.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is very important. The chairman of the commission for Marjorie Rollins points one of the things out is not just solely having an SRO. The guardian is a plus because out of their studies and looking at previous school shootings, the shooter comes in contact, on average, is 4 to 5 staff members during that shooting, before the law enforcement's even engaged. So
So we had a list. We invited some of our folks that we put on this list to be guardian. Where are we with our guardian situation?
Presently, from what we have been given and have made it through backgrounds, we have made them guardians.
Just numbers. I don't need.
12
Okay.
off the top of my head.
That's all out of that whole list.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
I think, Dennis, I think we're working through that.
Yeah, Dennis, can you kind of help us with that?
We have a total of 12, 4 with the charter schools and 8 within the district. There is a list, and we're, as of right now, I've got a running list of those who are willing to take the Guardian course during the summer. The problem we was running into is that when we were offering the course, the Sheriff Woods was offering the course through the school year from 5 at night to 9 o'clock at night. A lot of people just felt as though that was just too much to come to work, teach all day, and then do that course at night from 5 to 9, and then on some Saturdays. So they would much rather have the opportunity to do it over the summer. That will take us into the 2019-20 school year. So we do have a list, a running list of everybody who wants to participate. We will vet them before we send them to the sheriff to make sure that internally we're okay with them, and then we'll send them to Sheriff Woods, and he will take care of the rest of it by, the training and making sure that they're properly trained.
Okay, refresh my memory.
We figured, I'm sorry, let me ask this real quick one, and then you can. Have we figured out a way to inform every employee, though, that they have this option if they qualify? Have we figured, I thought of maybe sending out a blanket email to everybody, and then they could contact you, and then move forward with that. I know Paul and I.
Right now, I know that the SROs at every school has been going around, and the SROs on the campus know the temperament, the mentality, the physical abilities of most everybody at their schools. So they've been going around actually looking at certain people who they feel comfortable with, and they have a private conversation with those individuals, and those individuals will call me or email me, and let me know they're interested, and we're keeping a running list of them. But we haven't sent out an email because, again, we're getting paras and we're getting different people, and the blanket email is going to cause folks who are not qualified to respond, and we could, we'll have to deny them if they don't meet the state, the mandates as far as.
Right, but that's okay to deny them. I mean, but there may be people out there that aren't aware and
That's
don't
willing
know.
to, that no one asked.
Well, again, and that guardian has to work with that SRO, and remember, these SROs are highly trained individuals, and they are around them every day.
But they can't reach everybody. I believe the district has a certain amount of responsibility. I don't
Well-
think we can expect the sheriff's department to do our job
No,
also.
you're right. I mean-
I believe we have to notify people, and I also believe that Sheriff Woods, I have total confidence that he can decide whether they're qualified. He doesn't need somebody at the school to just, I appreciate the SROs helping us out and trying to find somebody, but there's people that the SRO doesn't know and doesn't even come in contact with because they're so busy. I agree with Ms. King. We need to let those who are qualified and let Sheriff Woods do his job, because I would not want to have something happen at a school that we maybe had two guardians at the school might not have happened, just because we wanted to let the sheriff do our job. I believe it's our job to inform the people in our district that are qualified to do this, and let Sheriff Woods make the call, because that's what statute allows him to do. Because,
Right. Ms. King, you got to understand something too, and Sheriff Woods will make that call, but from a district level, we're going to have to accept some responsibility as well. If we knowingly have someone with the wrong temperament carrying a gun on or firearm on our campus,
but
that's
not going to happen. That's like
you can't say that's not going to happen, because
we're operating in a negative. I want to operate in a positive.
We had talked about, and what we had decided on with past board is to look at those retired military, retired law enforcement, and that's what I'm comfortable with. I am not comfortable with sending out an email blast to just everybody. I'm not comfortable with that.
And let me say this too, and I think I shared this with Sheriff Woods and Chief Graham. I'm not against the Guardian program. I'm against the Guardian being the only program.
Right.
I prefer that we have SROs there.
I think we need someone to keep it organized.
And just as Beth just said, Ms. McCall said, we don't need, everybody doesn't need to have a gun in school. We need, if we're going to put them in the hands of people that's in school, it needs to be somebody that's a certified law enforcement officer, retired, or military, because the temperament changes of people. And I think the sheriff can go ahead and decide who's able to have that gun in school, and we'll make a good decision on that. But we got to get a good list.
But he needs the list,
He needs
and
a
that's,
good
he's
list.
not getting the list.
We need a good list.
That's what the point
Correct.
is. He's
But-
not getting the names of people that qualify what you just said.
Right.
Like if the SRO knew everybody at his school that was qualified, then he could, as he makes through his day, he could meet up with whoever it is that's qualified to do it. But right now, you're working by crystal ball at the schools, because we haven't given you a list of people that are on the statute allowable. So through crystal ball, your deputies are touching people.
We provide a list with a lot of military. Remember, the statute says current military, not former military, but current military in the, like the ROTC, junior ROTC. We got a letter from the Army that said their people will not participate. They will not participate. And so we have a few of those, but we also was looking at no teachers. The statute says
Yeah,
no
no teacher,
teachers.
we know that.
So we're talking about administrative personnel. And every administrative personnel may not feel comfortable, even though they may feel comfortable with others doing it, doesn't necessarily mean that they.
Well, they
feel
don't have to sign
That's
up,
why-
though. I mean,
and
but
that's
the
why we-
SRO needs to know who's eligible,
And
and
we
if
had-
all they say is no. We
Well,
don't need
that's
to say
what-
no for them.
That's what they're doing, Ms. King. They're already doing that. I'm trying to, I'm sorry, Ms. Stacy. I keep on saying Ms. King. Ms. Stacy.
I know, I'm
sorry. Ms. Stacy, that's what they're doing. The SROs on the campus are going around talking to the administrators because they know that that's the limit that they have. They can't talk to the current teachers. They're talking to the administrators, and these administrators are sending me emails. And a lot of these folks that are in these positions, they have called me. And I had one individual call me, and he was ready to go until he went home and talked to his wife. They just think, some of them think the liability portion of it. If you're, for example, if you're in the classroom, the state may have to give some guidance. If you're in the classroom with a group of kids and there's an active shooter, do you leave those kids in the classroom? Or do you go out and engage the shooter? So there's a lot that's going on that's running in their mind saying, okay, where's the liability going to fall on me as a guardian when this happens?
And those kind of questions is what makes me see the importance of having an SRO officer as the lead person there, because I'm sure whatever guardian, I mean, I would assume, just as a business person, that if Sheriff Woods has an SRO in a school, and we've got 2 guardians in that school, that they have some type of radio contact, phone contact, or something with those people if they need them. And so that's where I trust the SRO, and that's the reason I do believe we need an SRO at our schools. But I also believe he needs backup also. And I believe the SRO is qualified and trained by Sheriff Woods to make the call to get the guardian, you know.
And I totally agree with you. But right now, like you said, it's the guardian's choice. And when we put them out there to do that, they're going to call and tell us if they want to do it or not. And we just haven't been getting that overwhelming response as you may think.
But do they know? But that's my question. Like, do they know that they may qualify? Do they know how to reach out? Like, there might be somebody in there that is qualified, the retired police officer or whoever, and they may not even know who to contact and how to go about it because the information's not there.
When that list was built, there was communication that went out that invited them to do it. So yes, and that in Dennis's office, there was contact
and
information.
called every single one of them.
Yes.
Every single one of them from the list that we had. That was former military, law enforcement, retired, current, and we called every one of them individually.
Then why is the SRO having to go out and recruit if people know and?
Because we'll assume that there wasn't a communication piece delivered earlier in the process, and it was. I mean, that's just we're saying that nobody reached out to them, and that's not true.
Well, and Kelly, it's called cultivation. Now that the SROs are on campus and they're getting to know the SROs, then they may become more comfortable, and at one point said they did not want to do it, but because they're building a relationship with the SRO, I mean, it's called cultivation and relationship building, and now they may be able to say, you know what, I'm really comfortable with our SRO, and I might do that. So, I mean, that's how it works. It's called relationship building.
I just want to make sure that there's no kind of negative connotation being sent to our employees, that we really don't support this. I want to make sure that we do support what the board is pushing here, because the board, I do believe, wants as much backup as possible for the SRO that's qualified. And I just want to make sure that that message is being taken properly to our district employees, and they're not discouraged from being a part of this, that they are encouraged, if they want to do it, that we're in. And the sheriff will do background checks, psychological tests. He will have it so, in fact, we may have someone so good, he hires them as deputies, we might lose them as their school employee, but he may train them so good, he wants them to work for him.
Okay, Dennis, I have one more question before we go, because now this has been called out as cultivation. I am curious if the guardians that are coming forward now, were they aware and invited, or were they seeked out? I'm kind of curious on that case. And you don't have to answer now, but I am kind of curious because I've heard conflicting information. So I think it will probably wrangle this in and move forward.
I'd like to just throw in my 2 cents, if you wouldn't mind. I've been sitting here listening to all of the conversation, and there's a couple things. It sounds like you're doing some pre-screening to make sure that whoever you may be asking would actually have a snowball's chance of being qualified to do it. The other thing I'm wondering is that how many guardian prospects were on the original list? My understanding was there was a bunch, but very few made it through all the filters.
Right.
Which to me was kind of a relief, because being in the schools, exactly, because being in the schools when that shooting happened, there were a lot of people that were saying, hey, give me a gun, I'll defend him. And I'm looking at that person, I really love you, but no thank you. So I appreciate you taking any emotionality out of this, because it's number one to protect our kids. And something that concerns me was, there was a comment at the beginning of all this about the city council and the board not getting along. I don't know the background to that, and I really don't care to know, because we're talking about our community's children here. Right. So whatever happened in the past needs to be the past, and we need to go forward and negotiate in good faith in all directions.
Well, let me say this. We did, myself, Major Woods was there, Chief Graham, Dennis, Superintendent Mr. Christian. We did meet with the City Council and Miss Councilman Rich, and we had a very good meeting, very productive, and there was no bad. That might have been something way years back. Yeah,
it has been resolved.
Yeah.
So then it leads me to ask the question: why is there a $16,000 difference between your salary and the city's?
I'm trying to get their salary up to the city salary.
The city's has always been more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And basically what he's kind of saying is that the sheriff's deputy makes less than the city policeman anyway. So that's
for the majority
But
part.
we're talking about serving our schools, and to me, it would make sense to have the salary be the same across the board.
Well,
and that opens up my concern.
You know, why should the Bellevue guy get paid less, and why should anyone else get paid more when you're asking for the same service?
I thank you, my namesake, for
for
saying this.
Chief.
Been the way it is.
Okay, but I want to say something. I need to address this issue, because I'm on board here with Ms. Thrower. The way the statute reads, Deputy Sheriff Woods is really this kind of, and he's starting to wiggle over there. This kind of falls on his plate. And I understand that you know, we don't like to cross the borders, although it doesn't seem to be a problem on our southern border of the United States. But we don't like to cross each other's
I knew
city
where
and
you were
county,
going with that before
city
you
and
said
county
it.
borders. I know there's turf. I understand turf.
Jurisdictions.
And so I am concerned about the difference and I know the sheriff statutorily can cover all schools. And he can stand up straight over here and start, because you know where I'm going. And so is there any way we can, what's the difference? How many, okay, Miss Boston Ellis, you can do the math. I don't know how many officers we're talking about with OPD.
Is there 18, I think?
18.
So do the math for me. How much difference in salary? How much was it, like 17,000?
If it's at 60,000?
Times
So
18.
It's 17,000 more per.
Right, so that's what I'm asking. Exactly. So that's what I'm asking. Times 18. Anybody got a calculator out?
60 to 76, yes.
Right.
Other services
Right.
in that.
Right.
So it wasn't all just salary.
I know, but that's what it kind of balances out to, that difference, that the sheriff, that we're paying more for the city for 18 employees. So what's the 16 times 18? So
This has been-
that's
this has
$300,000.
This is not going to resolve. This is what it is. We've tried to
Listen.
get the same.
I want to hear what Sheriff Woods has to say.
I would love for you to pay for for what I would get, but I've given you an awful lot. As the sheriff, I have greater authority I'm responsible for my budget. I'm the one that controls it, nobody else. So I have the ability to change the price and negotiate, unlike the city. Chief Graham and Chief Holland doesn't have that ability just to walk in and say, okay, I'll cut this price for you. I told you what it's costing me. That's an average of 72,000. Now, if I did exactly probably what the city has done, the salaries of each of the deputies, that'll rise up to even higher. I've tried to keep it as low as possible. I've cut an awful lot to help both sides, to help the city and to help you. That's why there's such a big price difference in the cost. In regards to all that, now we've jumped over a whole pile of things here. The city's got all the capital. The commissioners bought the capital, all the capital items out of the sales tax to help for this cause. The operating costs, I would love to have the operating cost in there, but I'm going to eat that in my budget.
So you're not willing to eat it 18 more times then, you're saying?
Actually, unfortunately, I think Mr. McFadden said we need to jump on this while he's offering this. You gave me too much time to look at the bigger picture and to look at the numbers, because the truth is, if I was to take them over for 60,000, it's going to cost me an additional.
That's what I'm saying. You'd have to eat. That's 18
I'd have to
more
eat.
you'd have to eat. I got
Not
it.
just that.
No.
I'd have to eat another $800,000. Where you're saving roughly probably $200 and some thousand. I'm going to eat
300.
another $800,000.
Probably not.
Well, that's what
gonna
we
happen.
needed to have this discussion.
No, it's not gonna
Everybody doesn't
happen
need to get
because-
the tail feathers all ruffled. We're having this conversation.
Right, no. What I'm saying is now that I see the bigger picture, okay, and I know what I told you. But however, $800,000, that's almost another $1 million that I'm going to give to you.
Okay. All right. Well,
And-
that was
but
my
what I-
question to you.
I know, and let me get at it, because of that, and because I do believe in the cities need to have officers in these city schools, because it's
Because they're
important.
close and they're close. they're close to
Absolutely.
the
Part of the problem at Parkland is because you had one agency in the school in the jurisdiction of another jurisdiction, and law enforcement.
Okay.
And that was the confusion. And it's important to have the cities in the cities.
But we need to
I will
ask
take it, I will take, no, and you
Because we're going to
should.
get asked.
Right. And I would take it over if I have to, because I protect the citizens.
Right.
But it's not the best option.
Right.
And that cost, what I'll do is I'll take them over, but because I can't hire 18 people overnight.
That's what I was
And I can't
wondering.
deplete the road, because that means I'm depleting
Right.
from your safety
Right.
at home.
Right.
Do you even have the manpower?
I don't have it. And so I'll contract with the city, and what they charge me, is going to be this, and that means that's what I'm gonna charge you.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well,
So
that,
I think we should,
Right.
this
And-
is less than
Right.
what we paid last year. We promised our citizens we would have SROs in the schools. I think at this point, this is our best option.
And I think it's going to build a better cooperation with everybody.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate what Sheriff Woods, Chief Graham, Chief Holland, all three have agreed to,
Yeah.
because we need to move forward with this. We've been talking about this for too long this morning,
Thank you.
and he's already
But
given
there's
us
a
an
lot to
option to
it.
move.
There's a lot to it.
There's a
The
lot of
biggest,
moving
the
parts.
biggest thing to this is the safety of the kids.
That-
That's the biggest thing, and we being the standard for the state. So
Let me, if you'll provide me the opportunity to help you ease your mind or certain things on this Guardian stuff. There's a lot of things that we have identified this past year that helping us out. First of all, let me tell you this, there is a class being put on in June for some of your staff members. Okay, it's coming. So that it's on the table, there has been a doubt in my mind, am I getting all of the names? Now, whether it be y'all filtering it or the message is not getting to it, I don't know. What I do know is I have had assistant principals personally walk up to me and tell me, and I'm not going to give them up, nor am I going to say their name. Walk up to me and say, I want to be a guardian, but I don't know, nobody told me when or how to do it.
okay.
Now, if they didn't get the message, I don't know. And I've had other employees of the school system say that to me, personally, not relayed through anybody else, but walk up to me, the sheriff, and say, I want to be part of it. Now, I don't know if there was a reason behind it. So one of the things that we've identified, and Mr. McFadden and myself have already discussed this, I agree that you know your employees. You may have employees that he says, Sheriff, you don't want it. To help, because the Guardian program, everybody looks at the sheriff for the Guardian program. Regardless of what you agree and what you like, they don't blame you, they don't look at you, they look at me.
Right.
And they say, well, you ain't being part of the Guardian program because these people want to do it and they're not in it. So to help be more transparent, what Mr. McFadden and myself have talked about is we take the entire list. You give every person, even the ones that you makes your hair stand on the back of your neck, the list comes through. We sit down together right off of that. He looks at it from based off of what y'all have, information, performance evaluations. You say, you tell my staff, not me personally, because I can't get involved in everything.
Right.
But Mr. McFadden tells staff, these individuals, and here's the reasons why. What it makes it easy for me and my staff is when somebody says, I wanted to be a guardian, but they wouldn't let me, I can say, here's why. What I can tell you is I did get a list, and I think, don't hold me to the exact number, it's pretty close, 30 names. How many employees do you have?
7,000, over 7,000.
Out of 7,000 employees, you're going to tell me there's only 30 people?
Okay, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, that ratio is way off.
Yeah, it is off.
Okay.
It is off.
So, but however, I have to be able to explain why. And I'm here to tell you, out of that 30, I weeded out some, and I told you in the beginning, don't be surprised when I call you up and tell you, we're weeding it out, and here's the reason why. You know, and that happens. But it's easy for me to explain if we have an open book across the table, if we're passing the information. And that's one of the reasons why we set up the juvenile division of having the captain and lieutenant with y'all so that they're the liaison, so that we can understand your needs. It's not for us to be there for any type of form of control, not to push our operations on you. It's so that we have that communication, so that we understand what you need and why you need it. So it helps me to explain to the citizens of Marion County why we're going in that direction.
Right.
So that's some of the things we identified. That's what's helping us do it, and then we can put it out there. Because you're right, there are individuals that don't need a gun in their hand.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks, Sheriff.
Are there still going to be 2 SROs at each of our mega high schools?
Yes.
Yeah, we still got the 2 SROs at each high school.
Okay, and this may be a Teresa Boston Ellis question. The referendum dollars, do we have a figure yet of how much money will be coming out of the referendum to pay for school safety this coming year?
And the quick answer to that is no, because referendum is based on our property values, the assessment value, and the increase from one year to the next. So no, we do not know. We did go back and evaluate the increases from one year to the next, for the last 3 years since we've had it. And it looks like if we continue with a 7% increase, we would have about $1.3 million available of new money. But keep in mind that we have people, charged to the referendum. We have over 470
Yes.
individuals that are charged, and these are recurring costs, and we have to overlay salary increases on that as
Right,
well.
right, and I
But
remember
we
you being concerned, my namesake, about, because there wasn't a specific dollar amount attached to adding
Right.
school safety to the referendum,
So,
so.
right, so we
but
will
we
have
had-
to adjust.
And we had talked about
Yes.
that those extra dollars, that the property values were going up, and we said it was about 1.3 million that would go towards school safety, that would not take away from the other programs. I mean, that's the way we talked the whole
Now,
campaign.
one thing we do have to remember, board, we could not supplant. I mean, we were already paying for SROs in our high schools anyway. We cannot charge the referendum. Like, if we look at how much the SROs are costing, it's not right on the referendum dollars, and I will fight that we charge, we were already paying a certain amount for SROs. That was in our budget before the referendum. We can't now go back and say, now all the SRO dollars are going to come from this referendum, because now
No,
we are
we're
taking.
not.
But it wasn't in the budget. That was an emergency thing that happened right after the incident.
Now, what I'm saying is, what we already had in there for SROs was in our general budget. We can't go to the referendum now and cover all SROs.
So
It's
we
got to
only
only.
had high schools and middle schools.
They have the elementary.
So we're talking elementary and maybe the mega high schools.
Okay, so.
That's all we
I
can
think
take from the
We'll
referendum.
have further discussion about that later, because we do have, we
referendum
have
committee's gonna really
fencings
fight
and
us.
cameras and buzzers and things like that, that we'll be discussing later. Now's not appropriate to be discussing that. Okay, so thank you. And I want to thank Sheriff Woods and Dennis. Thank you for,
Yes.
and Chief Graham and
And Chief
Chief Holland. I want to thank you guys
And Major
for.
Woods.
And Major Woods. I just want to thank you for being transparent, working together, working with our schools and vice versa. Dennis, thank you for working with these agencies. We're going on uncharted territory, kind of, and it's a bumpy road, and you guys have done an excellent job of representing our community, and for our board, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We
And I-
appreciate you.
And I know I shared with, I think I sent him an early morning text, Sheriff Woods, telling him thank you for listening to us, because ultimately it's about school safety. It's not about our personalities. It's not about any of that, other than just making sure the schools are safe. Same thing with Chief Graham. And Chief Holland, haven't had a chance to have a conversation with you, but thank you for being here, because we know that it was important enough for you guys to come out this morning and make sure that we got it transparently worked out in front of everybody. So
And I'm sure there's some
thank you.
areas that's not working this well together with the cities and the counties.
Exactly.
And
Oh, listen.
I bet, I can just picture.
We're forging
We
a
are
great
forging.
partnership here.
At least that part went smooth for us.
Okay, thank you.
So Tuesday night, though, at the board meeting, we have the resolution for our own police force. While you're here, we need to be very clear that that resolution is not trumping SROs. So, is everybody happy and clear?
Police designation.
Because I don't want any drama Tuesday
Designation.
night.
That's a designation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is a rumor. There was two things, if you indulge me a little bit longer here. That's one of the rumors that's been going around about creating a police department, and I want to be as forward with all of y'all at once, being I have everybody here before the board. If this district ever, and I know what she just said just confirmed and squished the rumor, is if you ever move towards creating your own police department, in the state of Florida, the sheriff by statute is solely responsible for the enforcement of the laws in the county. I am only relieved of that responsibility when like the city of Bellevue and the city of Ocala create and chartered their own, become a charter, and they create their own police department. They relieve me of that burden of having to enforce anything within the city limits. If you create your own police department, that means you relieve me of that responsibility. That means, and I'm being frank with you, because I'm going to tell you, you need the clear picture. You need the whole picture. That means on every piece of property in which this school board owns, that means you work every single call. That means petty thefts. That means criminal mischiefs. That means animal cruelty. It doesn't matter what it is. Child abuse doesn't mean school campus. That means this building. That means the school bus yard. We don't respond. That will be your responsibility.
So can you explain this designation and why it's important?
Well, what the designation is going to allow us to do, because everybody understands money, budgets are tight. It'll open up some opportunities for some grant funding to do some of our school hardening projects, maybe some cameras and some different things like that, because like you mentioned earlier, Ms. Stacy, the state gives us a pot of money for safe schools. That never covers the cost of what it really is. That's just a little bit. And obviously, after trying to cover 50 schools, that price went up. So this will allow us to probably get some funding. I've talked to other districts, and it's just an opportunity to get some state and federal funding. The other thing it does is allows us as a district, along with local law enforcement, to have a better line of communication when it comes to information sharing. Because right now, I think I gave you some incidents where we've had some issues on our campuses that we don't want to put the sheriff and the police department in a situation where they're violating the law by sharing certain information with us that they shouldn't be. And they are very professional, they're very helpful, but there's just certain things they can't share with us.
But then they'll be able to.
But now they will be able to. But now, listen, when they share that information with me, as the director of security, does not mean I can go overtly and start sharing it with you.
Right.
Right.
Okay? It doesn't relieve me of that responsibility.
So there's no public record of this shared information.
Right, because it's involving juveniles and things like that. I can assist the school district in making sure that certain kids may not be placed together as a result of a report, but I can't share those names and all of these different things with you. I can't do that. I still have the same obligation.
So Sheriff Woods, are you comfortable with this designation? It works for you. Is it okay, or is it?
Under what you're asking, what he is saying right now, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think it's important. It helps, yes. And what, we like to be as helpful as we can, and with some of the unintentional consequences is we give information not knowing that, or someone not knowing that it shouldn't have been given out, even though we think you need it. And we want you to have it, but all of a sudden we turn around and find out you just violated the law big time. And he's right.
It opens up communication better.
It opens up the communication, gives him access, but it also, what it does, it also restricts him to the same restrictions that I have. And that I can't just give you a public record of a juvenile, any sex crime in regards to all.
So you're comfortable if we move forward with this?
Yes, ma'am.
For these
Reasons
only?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Those reasons
On
only,
record.
I'm
We're
comfortable.
On the
Reasons
record.
only.
And we are on the record today.
Yes, ma'am.
Sheriff Woods, I appreciate that. I appreciate it, because we kind of had those conversations, because we understand it's not about anybody trying to take over anything. It's about the school safety and making sure we get the jobs done effectively and efficiently. And I think that's going to help.
Well, that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it
appreciate
up, and I appreciate the superintendent bringing it up.
Appreciate it.
Because you know how rumors are.
Yeah, because I think initially when the board heard this, it kind of shook them just a second ago, but I knew what it was about. It was about communication.
So I would suggest, when we have this resolution on Tuesday night, Sheriff, would you be available? I mean, I think just to show and have an explanation of why we are doing this, and so that the community understands fully what it is and that you're comfortable with it.
Is that next Tuesday?
This coming Tuesday at 5:30. Can we do it early so he doesn't have to sit through it?
It has to be later.
Later?
I'm in Tallahassee Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm hoping to be done by noon, 1 o'clock,
Or
and I can
maybe
be
you can
back in time.
send,
I will send a representative if
I
I'm
just-
not here.
so that the rumor mill can be shut down, so that we absolutely understand what this is, our community understands what it is, and that it's transparent and we're together on this. And
I
I
agree.
think that would help
agree.
tremendously with our community.
Because
And maybe a
communication
representative
between
from the
the-
other.
PIOs can
other
get
two.
together. I think Dr. Mayor mentioned that, you
Right.
know, make sure the PIOs get
Yeah,
together.
we need good communication at the board meeting that night on exactly what this is and why
Yes,
we're doing it.
because
I agree.
communication between the agencies is key, and that was something that fell apart, which led to what happened.
I agree, and I think that's gonna work for everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna work for
I
everybody.
agree.
All right,
I had to write my note because I almost forgot what the second thing was. So I want to be clear today. The contracts as is, what I just said, city's contract is good, the 1.3 something million dollars. Bellevue's contract is good, and my 60,000 per deputy, the 37 deputies you're requesting is good. So we can move forward, and we'll all three send the contracts to you so it can be taken care of. Is that
We're
correct?
already reviewing the sheriff's contract and Bellevue's contract. We have not received the city, so they said it is coming.
I think they were waiting on me.
The city's
so
waiting.
we can't go to the board for approval until,
Yeah, well, it's in the review process, so
Okay.
just like last year we reviewed it, it'll probably be the exact same terms last year. I think we were kind of waiting on this meeting to see how many were going to be at where from what agency.
Okay.
So we settled that and we can
Okay.
finalize those
Let me,
numbers.
Jerry, does he have the one that you finished? I'll make sure. Yesterday? Because we finished it out, finalizing the summer school stuff. I made sure, so I don't think you have the most current one.
Okay,
He will, when we get back, we'll send it to you.
all right.
And
but I
that way,
think we're under consensus.
We have a consensus.
Okay.
Moving
And this is
forward.
good, because we ain't gotta keep coming back every
No,
year.
we're-
Absolutely. As much as I love y'all,
Bravo!
they keep me busy as it is, all right?
Thank you.
Guys, if there's
Chew it up
anything I can
first.
do for you, reach out. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Sheriff Woods,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Chief Holland, Major Woods, thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, let's look at the time real quick. It's 10. I
take a
think,
break?
I think the next one's gonna be short. Can you guys wait? Like, okay, and then we'll have a recess. Okay, we're gonna move forward with the new charter school application review with Mr. Ayers.
Take him a minute.
That's what I was thinking, and then,
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, Pastor Coach, Vice Chair, board members, Dr. Mayor, Martinez Lopez, Mr. Gibbs. I'm here this morning to announce that we've had 0 new applications for our charter schools for this school year. So
That's it?
that was that was my,
You were right, Ms. King.
Thank you, Mr. Ayers.
my introductions was longer than my presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, now we can recess at 10:12.
Thank you all.
Thank you, and I know you
Thank
were
you.
really involved with all of that. And I love that
'Cause I
idea
think we
about them
I-
committing to cross-agency communication.
Right.
That's how
I didn't
things
want
keep
them
falling
to
through the
get
cracks.
shook about the designation thing, because it was like
Yeah,
going to go in a
because-
different direction.
Right.
So,
And if they hadn't explained it, I wouldn't have understood it
Yeah.
in depth, you know?
and we needed that, we definitely need that for the communication.
We did.
And to be able to.
And that's what was hindering, like the lack of, they knew, and everyone's frustrated, and now they're like, oh.
Well, the only thing he said differently, he said the same thing that we met in our meeting. He just came back and said, at one point he said he could do all of them. And then I think, I looked at it and seen that in here.
They're hot. Our mics are hot. All right. Elena, are you ready? All right. Everybody ready? Let's do it. Okay. Okay, we are going to re-adjourn, and now we're moving forward with the school staffing plan with Dr. Grantham. Or, my, you look different.
Under the advisement and guidance of Dr. Grantham, I'm going to present to you, and good morning again, by the way, the school staffing plan. So this is our third meeting, and this is our time of the year with staffing plans. I want to first walk you through briefly the process of this, because that has changed. We have really done more collaboration on this staffing plan just simply because we have a support mechanism in place with area directors, and we've increased our ability to collaborate more closely with schools. So this plan starts back in Dr. Ayers, Mr. Ayers' office with him formulating projections. We look at those projections, and when I say I work closely with the area directors to do this. We look at those projections, then we look at class size, and we look at program needs of schools. The area directors work directly with their principals on their needs to come up with this staffing plan. So it has been in process since December. It is always a fluid document, and what we have to present to you today, I want to highlight the documents and then just some changes on it. So the first couple of pages you'll see, which are kind of crammed in here, it's the first 3 pages are your summary pages. So we'll summarize.
Is it in this or
no, ma'am. It's this document here.
I don't think we received that.
Have it.
No, beautiful. We weren't given the document.
I apologize for that. Boy. All right, Dr. Grantham's going to go print that, and I apologize for that.
We'll let you off the hook this time.
Thank you for that. Well, I don't know if I'll let myself off the hook for that one. The first 3 pages are the review pages. The summary pages is just like the other documents. And then the back pages are specific to how they're broken out to schools. So as we wait for that document, I just want to highlight some major changes in this document that we'll have some discussion about, and then you'll see them in here, and I'll point them out. So we really our goal is to be transparent to the community, to our schools, and to you as well. So we've made some changes in the school staffing plan. The school staffing plan is developed on what is based at a school and what is the direct report to schools. And there were 2 categories of things that have been placed over the years, and I'm talking about numbers of years that we've kind of cleaned up. The first one is school psychologists who report directly to schools every day other than their reporting day for writing their reports and so forth. Those we have moved from the district staffing plan to the school staffing plan. They're in the same category as an ESE specialist, also in the same category as social workers, which are on the school staffing plan as well. So you'll see those have been moved from district to school staffing plan. That was one of the major changes. The other, and probably
At the school?
yes, they're located at the schools 4 of the 5 days, and on the 5th day if needed, they go, just like the social workers are. That one day is for them to write all of their reports. Have you ever seen a report from a psychologist? It is pretty massive. The other big changes is with speech language pathologists. And these are our speech language pathologists who are required to have a master's degree, who have been contracted services for years, probably about 15 years now. They provide the speech and the language therapies to our students with special needs. We are moving from a contracted service where we have all those individual contracts that come to you to bringing them in-house. When Dr. Alves looked into that move and working through that, this is going to be a cost savings of about $700,000 to the district. It's also a management piece, and this is her overall big plan for ESE, which is a great move for our district, but really it's a great support to our students as well that need those services. So you're going to see a bump on that first page, and again, when we get it, I'll point it out to you. You're going to see a bump in units. It's not that we're increasing, adding more people. It's the same people. They're just going to move from a contract, individual contract, to being school board employees, which gives us the oversight to run that program with fidelity.
It would open communications tremendously.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Have they agreed to do this? Are we going to have a shortage because of going from a contract to an employee? Ms. Alves, Dr. Alves, maybe you can address it. I just don't want to be caught in that space of, is this something we need to move into gradually, or?
What we're going to do is realistically, we will not fill all 55 positions in-house.
How many?
55. There's one already there, so we're asking for 54 to shift, so it's a total of 55. Right now, I anticipate at least 50% will come under school board, and then we will clean up the contracting piece. The goal will be to always post an interview for in-house first, and then if we can't find someone, we will contract with the agency. Right now, we have, I think, 4 or 5 agencies, and then another 60 independent contractors, and each SLP is their own independent contractor. So we will do school board in-house first, always post those positions, and then if they can't be filled, then we will reach out to one of the larger agencies to limit the number of contracts, the individual negotiations, and get it down to that. Then annually, we will have to repost those positions, and through attrition and through people moving in, we will eventually get to the point where we have the majority, if not all, that will be school board employees.
So that $700,000 in savings might not come the first year. That's
not.
after we get to those, after we get there, then it will be that total savings. So we can't look at that the first year.
Absolutely correct. And what will happen is the amount that's under contracted services, that amount is going to be reduced by the amount of people we're able to get on as a school board employee. And right now, I've been told approximately 50% are ready to go. There are some others that aren't, and most of those are because they have a no-compete clause with their agency. So that's going to be an issue to work around as well. But this is at least moving us in the right direction.
Does the 700,000 savings include the insurance and benefits, like everything long-term?
It does.
Okay,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay.
So once everybody's in place, there'll be a $700,000 savings per year.
Yes, sir. And that's approximate, because right now, the independent contractors, some have only contracted to work 1 day a week. Some have contracted to work 2 days a week. This is getting us from about 65 to 67 independent people that are only working part-time, some of them, to 55 full-time employees.
Thank you.
What's
Ms.
the
McCall,
employment
ask the
market?
question.
Yeah, what's the employment market like right now for SLPs? For
Very
hiring?
difficult.
Yeah.
It's very
I was
difficult,
gonna
and I will
say,
be
I don't-
perfectly honest, it's very difficult. But if we can get them under us, it will help them, because then they're not running all over the country, and I think it's going to make a big difference for us. And management is going to be a big difference. Every time somebody decides they want to go from 2 days a week to 1 day a week, we have to rewrite that contract. It has to come back to board. We have to do that, and we do that all year long. So once we get, even if we can get 50% that are school board employees, then we have that management. They're not working from home and billing us hours when they're working at home, where we can't really tell, are they really working from home? You know, all of those things are happening currently. So this will allow us to have better management of the staff that and the money that we're paying out.
And it's a legal issue as well, especially with the independent, like, single person. We have entities that are created like Brenda's SLP services. we're their only job, and if you look at the legal definition, that isn't an independent contractor, that's an employee. If we're not paying them benefits, FRS and stuff, that is legal liability that is building up, and there is a 3-year statute of limitation, or limitations on those claims, and they can get back pay. Like, if they want to retire this year, they say, hey, I'm retiring, I quit, I'm going to sue you for the back pay that you owe me for benefits and everything for the last 3 years, and we're going to lose those claims, so it will remove some liability. The bigger agencies, like she's describing, if you contract with them, they're true independent contractors because they're not working for us. They work for them, who are assigning them to us to perform the duties that we're asking them to do. So I have less concern over those. So this will limit legal liability as well.
Thank you.
And over the next 3 years, it should impact our ability to bill for Medicaid services and bill back to Medicaid. We don't have, when they're independent, the district and the board does not have any control over them doing that in a timely manner because there is no benefit to them individually for doing that. So by bringing them under, it will allow us to also work in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
More questions?
If I could expand on Ms. McCall's question as well, on the personal side of these individuals, this is a major change for them in their life. I have met with their lead to talk through that process of when they come over and where do they fall on a salary schedule and so forth. I'm working closely with Ms. Gideon in finance and actually have a meeting coming up to where we will have examples of what that transition looks like. So we will have that collaborative communication with the SLPs as we move forward.
Thank you.
If you look on that very first page, and again, I greatly apologize for not having that prepared. If you look on that very first page, on that middle section where it says ESE programs, you'll see speech language pathologists, and that's where you'll see those 54 units added. If you scroll down to where it says support, you'll see where the psychologists were moved over to the staffing plan.
Where is that?
Is that the 19?
Yes, that's the
Okay,
19.
If you go down to support, it's like enrichment, support, and then
Okay.
you'll see it.
And I want to make it clear, we didn't add psychologists, we just moved the units.
Out of the district to the school?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they're based there?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that make a difference on the school? You know, when the schools are making their planning and everything and who they can have come, does that affect their numbers at all?
As far
As
as
far
their
as-
class size and
Yes.
things like that, no.
Okay.
No, it does not. Well, actually, there's a formula. So each, for an ESE specialist or for a psychologist or a behavior specialist, we look at loads, their caseloads, and that is worked through their department. So Ms. Alves will look at the caseload for SLPs and ESE specialists and behavior specialists and make the determination of which schools they go to. Whereas for psychologists, Mr. Lopez will look at the caseloads and assign them out to schools based on that.
So let me get an understanding again. You moved them from the speech language pathologist under ESE program down to support psychologists?
The speech language pathologists have never been on this document because they were contracted outside of the school
So
district.
that's the new one.
That's new.
And what did you do to support?
The psychologists under support
Right.
last year and in previous years appeared on the district staffing plan, which Dr. Grantham will speak about after this presentation, because they are school support. Now, in reverse, we have moved 9 coordinators off of the school document onto the district staffing plan. And that has occurred over years. We had coordinators, if we rewind the clock many, many years, there were school coordinators located at schools where they had high numbers as a support instead of another assistant principal. So those got mixed through the years, and we wanted to clean that up on these staffing plans and move them off of here to the district staffing plan. They're not new people or new units, they're just changing which staffing plan they belong on for transparency.
So, and on your form here, it's the last one at the bottom, administrative. If you move over to the right, you see how it's -6 for coordinators. So that's where they're coming off the school.
And explain to me again, what do they do?
So there are different coordinators. These could be, the ones that are moving over are ones, for example, elementary curriculum coordinators, secondary curriculum coordinators, those coordinators. The coordinators that you see left on here are the coordinators, for example, CTE. Well, they are based at CTE, and they run those programs at a school site. Same with MTC. So the coordinators that do remain are ones that are physically located on a school site.
Okay.
Your second page are all grant funded, whether it be Title I, UNICIG, IDA. Those are all grant-funded positions that are not on the general district cost. And then page 3 is your summary sheet for your non-instructional. So these are your clerks, your paraprofessionals. The major changes in here is that new ESE plan that Dr. Alves has discussed in last Thursday's meeting about providing more special needs para support to schools, and that is one of the bigger changes. Also, I wanted to note on this page, next year we have 2 schools, Liberty Middle and Hammett Bowen, at the beginning of the year will go from contracted custodial services to in-house. So those units are now added back on here. And then in January, Hammett Bowen, Horizon Academy and Marion Oaks begin in-house custodial service instead of contracted. So that's also why you'll see numbers shift in that unit as well.
Can you tell me where that is? Because I'm looking and I want to.
Yes, ma'am. So if you look on page 3.
You're saying page. This is 1, this is 2, 3. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. At the top of that page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down, it'll say special needs pairs, and you'll see the changes there, and that is providing more support into our ESE classrooms.
Thank you.
If in that same section of units, if you scroll down, you'll see where we've added custodians, and that is because we are moving 4 schools over the course of next year in-house instead of being contracted out.
You said 4 schools?
Yes. So again, Liberty Middle and Hammett Bowen will come into in-house services at the beginning of the school year. Horizon Academy and Marion Oaks will move to in-house services in January.
Thank you. It's just when you get home, you start like.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're going to need to digest this, and please, if you have questions, please contact me. I am happy to sit down and walk through this entire document individually, line by line, if that's what you need. Moving forward, our timeline is that we're seeking your board approval on Tuesday, so you have a lot to digest in a short amount of time. Once we hopefully receive that board approval, we move to sending out the individual school staffing plans the very next day. And by Friday of next week, those school principals will get their true vacancy report that they have to complete. Once they return that true vacancy report, the employment services and myself will take the true vacancy and the reappointment packet, combine it, and that gives us what are our vacancies for next year. We do the transfer window, and then when we go to our job fair on April 27th, we have a true vacancy need on what our schools are seeking out instead of a contingency contract.
I have 2 questions.
Ms. McCall?
Page 1, 2, and 3, and 4, no, 1, 2, and 3, and are the total school-based employees.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the next few the other pages are the individual breakdowns of the schools.
Yes, ma'am.
And my question, because I don't remember, is the principals actually fill out their own staffing plan and submit it? Is that how this works?
No, ma'am. So
Okay.
we get the projections from Mr. Ayers. when I say we, again, the area directors and I get the projections. We formulate what the school needs based on class size, program needs.
Okay.
And then we have the area directors have that collaboration with the principals.
Okay, all right, I just needed to know, remembered how it worked.
I got a question on page 3, under categorical funded, non-instructional. In the young parent program, we've doubled. What's that? Tell me.
We've actually doubled that program. That program is blossoming. We provide an incredible service to some very needy individuals in our district who need that support, and it is a beautiful program. If you haven't seen that program, it's pretty amazing what they
Anytime
do.
I see something that's 100%.
Absolutely, as you should, absolutely.
So we get FTE for the babies that are there and FTE for the mama. So we
Or dad, yeah.
Or dad.
We got dad.
Our dads, yes.
So we get, okay, all right, just checking.
Dads?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have
It's
any,
amazing.
honestly. But yeah, but we're taking care of them.
Again, as you digest, please don't hesitate to reach out to me for questions. I have to say it one more time. I apologize for not being fully prepared. That is all me, and it will not happen again, and I appreciate you very much.
So we gotta make a decision. We gotta go through all this over the weekend.
I gave you a lot of homework.
Decision by
This-
Tuesday.
and we have to decide by Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's kind of.
I think that's a little much.
I'm not comfortable just for the fact that we weren't really gonna, I mean, we can look at this, but we're not gonna really hear until it gets released and then we hear from our constituents, kind of like, hey, what's going on? I feel like that's kind of rushed. I'm not prepared for it either, that quick.
What's it gonna hold up if we don't vote?
We've done this before. We didn't vote for it last year.
If we just will have to go to the job fair with contingency contracts, which typically people will go to other counties to get.
Then this should have come to us before now.
We were.
Running out the clock again.
We are, and like I said, we've been working on this since December, and there's a lot that goes into this, and there was some finalization conversations that need to be had before we could put this all together.
Well,
I think this is have we ever received it on a Thursday and had to vote that
Never,
quick?
never,
for
never.
a staffing plan?
This is the first time. And so, no, I will vote no Tuesday night just because I haven't had time to look at it.
I'm just not comfortable. I feel like this needs to digest. I feel like you're trying to hurry up and get us to push it through before.
Definitely not my intent to shove anything on you. Again, we've had late conversations in regards to last Thursday, looking at our ESE programs. There were conversations still to be had that were very important conversations that impacted what our schools needed, that we could not get this to you any sooner until those conversations were completed. And we heard from our community and so forth. And I understand your concern.
We can wait
We'd
2
be ready
weeks to
to
vote.
26.
You could wait 2 weeks, but understand, we will go into a job fair not able to offer
When's your
contracts.
job fair?
The job
Job
fair
fair
is
is
April.
April 27th.
So I don't understand that.
If
We're
you,
not gonna, no, we won't. We will offer real contracts because we always need teachers. We always need teachers. We may not need a speech language pathologist or a psychologist, but we will need teachers. So we will move forward with real contracts
So we
for
can.
teachers.
We should be ready by the 26th.
26, that's enough time, but just to get
Yeah, I'm not
it 4
comfortable
days later, so so that we're doing our due diligence.
I understand. I understand.
Okay, so let's move that to the 26th. Are we
So if
comfortable
we
with
move
that?
it to the
Okay.
26th, and the job fair's not till April, you can still offer contracts, right?
Well,
We will.
we will, yes. Bottom line is we'll get it done. That's
We
the
will.
bottom line.
Okay,
We always need teachers.
okay,
We know we're gonna have to have them.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment? Seeing none. Okay, we're going to move forward with the district staffing plan. And I believe Dr. Grantham is presenting it this time. Okay.
Got a slideshow.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Let me talk through this, and we want to show you timelines, me and my 3 personalities. So I want to talk to you about this, and before we do that, I want to talk about the process this time. It's a whole lot different. last year, previous year, someone would go sit somewhere, they would do it, they would bring to you their proposal. I am not doing that. We are not doing that. We're going to bring to you facts. We're going to take your guidance. We're going to go and we're going to bring it back to you like we did the strategic plan. Every time we meet, we're going to talk about something else. Years past, the director would have a conversation with the deputy superintendent and say, I need this. They would say yes or no. I'm not doing that either. I'm going to have the directors come speak directly to the board and explain. For example, Mr. McGowan was here today. He's going to come and say, this is what I have. This is what I need. To have direct conversation with the board, and you have discussion about it, and then you say, okay, we're good with Mr. McGowan's section. Then we're going to move on, and we're going to continue to do that. And as we kind of check them off, I think you'll see we have 4 meetings. You'll say, I'm good with that. Let's have further discussion on this. So after every meeting, we're going to seek your guidance, and we're going to move forward and then bring back what you suggest us to do versus bringing this big old, and you remember the district staffing plan. It's 30 pages. It's convoluted. It's hard to understand. Ms. Stacy, and you'll see some things in here. You like names. I'm going to give you names because you know who they are. And in your head, you're thinking the names. And I would never do anything to embarrass someone that works here, but you're going to see their names and what they currently do. So we're going to kind of talk about the big...
Warm bodies.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily care about the name. I just want to make sure it's a warm body.
Right. And then we're going to talk... You'll see some things as we go, but I kind of want you to think with me through this process and say, I like that, I don't like that, this is what we want you to do. Okay? So you'll see... Here's our agenda. You're going to see our timeline. You're going to see our current district staffing plan. It goes all the way to the supervisor. After that, I just kind of stop because there's tons and tons of people after that. So I want to make sure, I'm going to show you some things I found out recently, and I want to present it to you, let you tell me what you want to do. And the next steps, you'll see that every time. What do you want us to do? What would you like for us to do from this point forward? So I do not have a clicker, so Mr. Christian has to pay attention for a little bit over there.
Sorry.
All right. So here's a staffing plan. So you'll see in the district staffing plan, I'm going to walk away from this so you can, we're going to talk about this ad nauseum 4 times. If we need to do more, we'll do more. And then we're going to vote in May. So we're starting right now. If you need more meetings, please let us know. If you need me to jump in and do something else. So kind of let me tell you what I foresee and you tell me if you like it or if you don't. Today we're talking about the big picture. Next time I'm going to bring 6 or 8 directors to you and walk you through their departments, through what they have, and say, and then what I like for you to say is, okay, we are good with, I'm going to pick on Mr. McFadden. You've talked to him a lot this year. We're good with him. Dennis, you don't have to come say anything else. Let's move to, and we're going to go through it director by director by director through every piece of business that we have until we're completely done. And then this will be, we've already done all of our due diligence, and we've talked to everybody. Okay, so here's your dates. You see several meetings. So here's every time we'll come talk to you about the district staffing plan. Okay, I'm going to show you names, Ms. Stacy. So you see them. You know who these folks are. You know what they do. There's 2 deputy superintendents. Currently, 1 is vacant. There is 1 CFO. We probably need another one of those. Teresa. 2. I'm kidding. Teresa does a lot if you don't know. She is a wizard.
You about to make it into me.
I know. Poor Teresa. She's like, oh.
Of all of us.
Oh, we need 2 is what I'm saying, not a different.
Okay.
We need 2 because she
so
does.
those was a smile. That was a smile, Teresa.
Yeah.
Joy.
She knows how hard it is. 3 area directors. You see the area directors, and here's our executive directors. Currently, we have 4, and here's who they are and what they do. And I'm just giving you names so you know.
I love this sheet with the names.
Thank you. Well, there's more. There's more coming, so I'm going to give them to you. Because in our head, we always think who that is anyway. I'm just showing you.
Okay.
And these folks know that we're doing this, and my name's up there too, so it's okay. Here's our directors, and I want you to pay attention to this list, but more importantly, the next list. And I want to show you how they're funded. So here's their fund source. So just, if you will, peruse this, look at this. You know most of these folks. You see more than you see others. You might see Dr. Albies every now and then up here. She's frequenting this place quite a bit. But here's our directors, and you can see we've already added Mr. McFadden as a director. He's already officially in there. So I'm going to kind of stop. Any questions about these folks here on this particular slide? And this is slide 5, and I think you can see it at the bottom of the page. Okay, I'm going to show you this one. We'll talk about these folks, but I'm going to show you one that jumps out to me, and I think the gentleman's in the room. For the longest time before I started doing, and I'm not going to say this side because I don't like to talk about sides. We're all Marion County Public Schools. I don't like the curriculum and operations. I don't like saying that. I thought that Robert was a director for so long.
I did too.
And he's not. And Robert, don't make eye contact up here. I don't want you looking this way. In my opinion, that's not correct. That's not right. I'm just telling you that. He should be a
I
director.
thought he was too.
So I'm just giving that to the board. You tell me what to do, and I'll do it. But I looked at the difference in pay. It's about $800 from what he's doing to be a director. But I thought for the longest time, with everything he did, he was a director. So just, you can look at the rest of the names. Robert? Don't look.
$800 for what?
To be a director. To have the title of a director, it costs
$800 a pay period?
No. A year.
A year?
That's it.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to clean up some things that I assumed, and that was an assumption.
So why wasn't it lined up right?
I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes, and you'll see where it comes. Go ahead for me. This is a pet peeve of mine, Ms. Stacy. I've heard you say this. I don't like this term. Don't like calling people administrators, call them what they are. But it's not a place you bring somebody to the district office to hide them. You bring somebody because they didn't do a good job. I've never liked that term. There's 2 people in our district that are called.
Sounds too temporary.
Call them what they are. What do they do? So you know what Brent does? Brent is not a director. We don't have an assistant director. So tell me what you would like for me to do with these. But let's not call them and pretend like this is okay, being called an administrator on assignment. So you're going to see how this kind of all wraps up at the end. But I'm just kind of throwing out some big picture stuff. I don't like the term administrator on assignment. It seems a little, don't like it. Keep going for me, Kevin. Okay. Here we go, Mr. Cummings, when we talk about some stuff. Yeah. I don't like the curriculum side of the house and the operations side of the house. We bring everybody together. We are one big body of folks. But I'll tell you some things that's happened in years past. Curriculum people were called directors. Mm-hmm. Operations were called supervisors. And got paid a lot less. That's not right. That's why I gave you the list of folks. If someone is a director and someone is on the other side, like there's teams, Robert should be called a director. That's just my humble opinion. So there is no sides of the house. There is no, we're all together. We're in this thing together. And trust me, when we have our meetings, the directors on the operations piece know that we're successful and our success is based off how our students perform. No matter what they do, they all know that. So I want us to kind of revisit that and think about that some. Administrators on assignment, I said that. Let's give them a job description. Let's give them a job title for what they currently do, and let's get rid of that completely. Deputy superintendents, there's a vacant position. There's 1. There's 2 that's just up there to look at. Again, if we say we don't like sides, then there's operations and there's a curriculum and instruction, so just more to think about. This is a big deal. This one's a huge deal, and we got to talk about it. There's 4 current executive directors. There's a gazillion directors. Some directors report to some executive directors, and then they come to me. Some directors report directly to me. Some directors report directly to the superintendent. There's no reporting mechanism. So, for example, Mark does a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. No directors report to Mark. None. 0. Some executive directors have 3 or 4 people. So we need to, if you do a hierarchy or an org chart and there's an executive director, there has to be a director coming to them some kind of way, some kind of filter. So I've met with the current executive directors and we've kind of talked, and what I would like to pose to you is let's have them come talk to you about how they should come to us, how they should filter through people. It's just, there has to be, why are you called an executive director? Why are you called a director? What's the point? So I just want to bring that conversation to the board, and let's have a conversation about it. And if you like it, fine. If you don't, fine. But there's just no reporting mechanism to executive directors.
So you've met with the current executive directors.
Yes, ma'am.
And so can you bring back to us how they see the directors reporting to them so I can see that in my head, that org chart? I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. But I need to see it.
Yes, ma'am. So that's what I'm asking. I want to bring some stuff to show you. Let me be very clear. I'm not going to bring you and say, this is what we want you to do. I'm going to bring back things, and it's going to be on a magnet board. You're going to say, move that person there, move that person there. We're going to talk through it so that when we're done, collectively, we have a plan. I do want to say this. I did some research. At one time, there were 14 executive directors. That is not what I'm here asking for. Not asking for that. I'm asking that if an executive director has 3 or 4 directors, then the other one, it should be equitable and fair. So I will bring, on my board in my office, we've done this, and I want to show you, hey, like Mark says, hey, I need these 4. That makes sense. You know, so I want to bring you something just to have a conversation.
Okay. Is everybody in agreement with having a look at that?
Yes, definitely.
just want to show you kind of what we're thinking about.
Well, I like it delegated out, instead of one person, delegate it out and let the person that's
The
delegated
executive
to.
director, there should be directors reporting to those executive directors.
Or you got somebody that's not delegating properly if one person's doing it all.
Right. Here's another one, Ms. Stacy, this is your thing. We're getting away from funded and unfunded stuff. We're going to do it or we're not. We're not going to sit there and let it sit and then not hire it and then hire it. We're not doing that. So, and you'll see when, and I'm going to wrap it up before we get to the final one. As the directors come to you, you might say, hey, Robert, I agree, you need 5 positions. You need 5 new positions. Y'all might absolutely agree with that. And then you might meet with someone else and say, no, you don't need that. At the end of all this, I'm going to come back and we're going to be minus what we have now. We're going to be less so I'm going to clean it all up at the end. So if I just heard Robert got 5, I got to find 5. Okay, but when we come for the big picture, we're going to be minus. But this funded, unfunded stuff, we're not doing that.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm glad I've screamed for 6 years.
We're not doing it. You're either going to pay for it or we're not going to have it. There's no, we're not going to come out with this big, grandiose, we need this many folks. A need and wants are 2 different things. We're going to come to you with a need list based off not what I tell you, but what the people you trust, the directors that do it every single day tell you, not me. I am not their filter. You're going to have a conversation with them and say yes or no, and then we're going to move forward.
Okay.
The last piece. I found this out. I'm not going to get on a soapbox about this, but I'm going to bring it to you. I did not know they were not part of us. I did not know they were not district people. Didn't know that. I found that out 6 months ago, and it bothered me. And I'll tell you one particular piece that bothered me. If something happened and it didn't get approved in Tallahassee, we have all these students we promised all this stuff to, and there's nobody there. There's 2 people that are funded partly through us, and that's Miss Zanetti and then her bookkeeper. The rest of them are not. There is a lady that works at the Public Ed Foundation that has been there 15 years. She has 3 years of FRS because it was taken. She, her insurance is $1,290 a month, and her deductible is $12,500 a month. She has 2 children. And all that they do for us, so I'm bringing that to this board.
They're supposed to be self-supporting, though, I thought. Am I wrong on that?
Well, Take Stock in Children provides funding for those positions. At one time, they were school board employees. The funding came from Take Stock into the school board to help them.
Ms. King, kind of like fiddlers, we'd be a pass-through. We'd pick up their benefits. So that lady's been working 15 years, has 3 years towards retirement. So what I would suggest, and I just want you to talk about it, their money comes to us. We're a pass-through. We pick up their insurance and benefits, and they should get some retirement.
Okay, so
They'll follow
we're
up on our
just,
group.
okay, I was just making sure. I just thought that eventually they were supposed to support their, because they
30 years
are
ago,
not
that's what I
us.
heard.
And that's what I thought the goal was, that they would be supporting, and not do us. But
I mean, the question is, are the services they provide valuable? And if they're self-supportive, then that means money that comes out of the programs we're providing, they're providing for students, teachers, grants, then has to go towards benefits. I mean, there's only Ms. Zanetti and the bookkeeper, and the foundation board does provide funding for Ms. Zanetti's part of her salary. So they are self-supporting, but like Dr. Grantham said, we have 250 kids in Take Stock in Children. If Take Stock in Children pulled the funding for the employees, what would happen with those kids?
Okay, here's the way I see it. Because, Ms. McCall, I've been here a long time in the community watching this. In the beginning, I remember Miss Cameron in 1991 or 2. When are you going to be on your own? When are you going to be on your own? But a lot of things.
Why should they be on
But wait a minute. That's because that was the way they were supposed to be self-funding, and it was supposed to be its own standalone organization. That's what they've been supposedly working towards all these years. And they've made some progress that direction. However, what I'm fixing to say is that the foundation has changed over what it was 30 years ago. We didn't have Take Stock in Children going on. We didn't have this stuff going on. So it's taken on a little bit of a new look. You follow where I'm going? So now we need to look at how do we, I was for the foundation standing on its own, like other foundations do, okay? But we do have things in the foundation now going on that have flowed through them that 30 years ago wasn't happening. And so it has taken on a new face. And we might need to look at exactly how we want to deal with that new face.
I agree, especially the cost of insurance.
Because things are different now. We've not really taken a look at it. You follow me, Ms. McCall?
Oh, yeah.
And so we might need to sit down and look at what we want them to stand on their own 2 feet doing and what we're willing to help with. Because there are people in the community that have been expecting them all these years to be on their own, but now they have taken on some of our duties for our students that was not in the original deal.
Right.
That I think we do need to sit down
So
and.
their salaries would still be funded through Take Stock and Children.
So it's just,
But we just need to look at,
Yeah.
we need to look at this.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
again, if that was something you chose to do, at the end, I'm still gonna get us to on minus. So if there's 7 people at Take
Okay,
Stock.
let's deal with it while
Yep.
we can, and then we
Right.
need to sit down and see how we're gonna formulate it for the future as this district grows.
Yeah,
With
I'm
the
not opposed
foundation.
to it. I just wanted to make sure that, when I took office, that was the goal, is that they were, and I was just making sure that we're. just-
Exactly, and that's been a chatter for 30 years.
And they have
They are
stood on
doing
their
a good
own. I mean, the district provides space for them, but now they've got Tools for Teaching, that wonderful store.
Yeah, and they're doing a
And
great
they,
job.
So there is a
they
difference.
pay, the salaries do not, except for Mrs. Zanetti, a partial salary for Ms. Zanetti, and a bookkeeper, that's all the district pays for. They are self-sufficient. But they get no benefits, no.
That's
no
the thing I
benefits.
struggle with for someone, because, I understand I'm a mom and I have flexibility and that kind of stuff, but $1,209 a month for insurance for your family, when it's something that's the least we should do. Her salary still comes from Take Stock, we should,
So it's just that.
and there's 5 total people that do not have anything from, and we're not talking about 30 or 40 people, we're talking about 5 people that get nothing. So I'm, again, bringing it to you, and if you want me to have Ms. Zanetti come and present to you in one of these work sessions, I think that would be.
Just
think
so
we need a
that.
plan.
Yeah, I just think it's good that we look at it, because, I think it will be asked, and as long as we can just give a good answer, and support it.
Sure.
But, okay.
So Kevin, if you'll do me a favor, you go back to the director slide for me. And board members, so let me ask you if this is okay with you. So I'm just going to look at the very first one. Mr. McAteer is the very first one. He's secondary for director. I'm going to ask him to come, or however we choose to do this, and say, here is my secondary department. This is my conversation with you, and I want him to walk through it, and then I want him to come here and answer any questions you have. Then all I'd like for you to do is say, yes, we're all in consensus. We're good with you, Mr. McAteer. We like it. Good. And then we'll move forward. And then if you're not, say, we have questions about this, let them go, and then they'll bring back to you. And again, I'm not trying to rush you in any way, but some are going to be like, Dennis is going to be 3 minutes. You're going to say, yeah, we know what you have, Dennis, we're good. Some others you might want to ask questions about. So what I would like to do is bring maybe 6 or 8 of these folks to you with their individual things so you can really focus on that. And then you can check them off or say, no, we're not good with it, we need more time, or we need you to bring this back to us. Does that make sense, Ms. King? Is that okay?
I'm fine with it. Are you guys okay, fine?
So we have 18 positions here. We have 3 more workshops, so you're saying 6.
What I'm probably going to do is bring to you the ones that are asking for no changes. And that will be a large amount, maybe 10. But the reason, I don't want to just check them off and not bring them. I want you to say, well, I don't understand who this person is or what they do or why do you have to have this. So I want you to at least have the opportunity to ask the director, even if they have no changes, what they currently do.
Can I just ask that when they do come wanting more employees or whatever, that they come and they can tell us what the title will be and what the cost
Yes, ma'am.
is going to be? Because
Yes,
if
ma'am.
we just see a name and a title, that doesn't mean anything. But if we see $60,000 attached, or if
Plus or
somebody
minus.
is being moved, plus and minus, we just want to.
And I do want to say
wanna know
too,
what it's
some
gonna
of these folks here, like some of our painters are considered a district level position because they're not at a school, they work for the district. So when someone says, I need another painter, there's a cost associated with that might be a lot less than. So I will bring direct figures to you for what they're asking. So when a director comes in, let me make sure, I'm asking for 3 positions. I'm asking for 1, 2, and 3. Here's what each one of them will cost, and here's a total I'm asking for.
Right, but now,
Okay.
but also, those positions start here.
I'm going to do the highest position they have.
Okay.
I always, when I
That
do
tells
something, I
us-
do it, what's the most it can cost?
Oh, that's what I want to know.
Yeah, I'm going to do the top of the scale, and then we'll go backwards from there when we bring it to you. I'm not saying they're going to make that. I'm just saying, worst case scenario, here's what they would make. Is that fair? So I'll have them come to you, and then I will bring, to the next meeting, I will bring the kind of chart with the executive director. So it's going to be me with the 4 executive directors looking at how we reorganize and do delegation and that as we start. And then I'll bring some that are no changes to you for the next board meeting or the work session.
This is so helpful, thank you.
I hope it's clear. And again, we're going to do what you tell us to do. We're going
Clearest ever.
Good, thank you.
You and I
Thank
had a lot of talk about this.
It's-
Yeah,
I mean, it's
remember
clearest
the big stack of paper with the red lines and that was not good. And
No.
things happened that shouldn't have with
Well, I just tell you, I don't want to speak on behalf of the director about what they need because I don't work with those folks every day. It's not fair, and it's not fair to you. So you can ask them directly, like Juan Lopez. I want Juan to come speak to you, and you have a conversation with him about what he needs. But then you say, we're good, Juan's good, and we're going to keep moving until we get it all done.
This is what I wanted for all these years. It's so nice, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, when you go to the okay. So are we okay with that? We kind of have a plan. So when we come back, we're going to bring the 4 executive directors. We're going to talk about a delegation piece. We're going to bring 6 or 8 or 10 directors to have that first conversation. And then after every meeting, we're going to say, okay, what would you like next? So we're on the same page. Is that okay? Anything I can do to help y'all?
You guys have any questions?
No, but
This takes away all the paranoia.
I do have one thing I want to address.
Okay.
But I need him to leave the room.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Grantham, you need to leave the room. And don't listen.
It's more about the position than the person, but he just happens to be the person right now. Goodbye.
Thanks.
We have 2 deputy superintendent positions. He's actually filling both right now. Yet is compensated for one. And I'm just bringing that up. I'm not, he's in that position, but I'm saying we have 1 deputy doing 2 deputies' jobs. So I'm just throwing that out there. Do we want to do something about that in the interim? Do we want to fill a deputy spot in the next staffing plan? Do we want to keep it like it is until we have a new superintendent? This is all just food for thought as we're moving through this staffing plan. But his role has changed because now he is doing both roles. So
We
that, I'm just
also
throwing that
have
out.
3 area directors, though, that we didn't have
We do
in the
have 3
past.
area directors. I'm just throwing
They're
it out
taking-
there.
They take on a lot of responsibility. I know that anything usually with the schools are going through the area directors and not the deputy like they used to.
Those are conversations we just.
I
just wanna
hear
be
what
sure
you're
we're
saying, though.
fair.
Can we just revisit this maybe in a year, just for the fact that I know we're probably going to be having some changes in the next year, and we don't know, who's coming in and what their plan is and what they may want to do.
So I had a question. When did we get the area directors? After?
This year.
This year.
This year.
And I
Whenever
think
this
they've
all
worked
changed.
out well. I mean,
It's taken a lot, what used to
They
be on
actually
the,
were in place last year, but weren't called that.
But at that time, we had 2 deputies, right?
but on the deputies, because Dr. Grantham's actually even moved offices pretty much from the curriculum side because the curriculum people or the area directors are handling Miss Beck and all the curriculum people are hiring, the area directors
No,
are
he
hiring.
got curriculum straight, and so that's why he was able to move physically out of that location. So now he's over in the facilities area and working through that.
But it looks like we
I'm
have-
just saying, I'm talking more, I know you like Lombardi's, but I'm looking at the position itself. And are there more responsibilities or are not, they're not?
And
I
have
think
other
that's a
people
com-
taken on some of the responsibilities too? Have
exactly.
Other people
And so I
had
think
more
that's
it's been
delegated to
delegated.
them.
And maybe as we have these conversations with the executive directors and the directors, we'll have a better feel. But I just would like for us to
Be aware of it, yeah.
be aware that we have one deputy now.
And that was kind of by choice, though. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what the
they
district
never,
chose
they
to do.
chose
We don't
not to
have to
because
have it
they
that way.
wanted those 3 area directors. If I recall, I think they wanted the 3 area directors, and then
That kinda
Dr.
offset some of the expense, and it took some of the-
Ham was leaving, and then they
That was the
chose to do
trade-off.
We had area
that.
directors prior to that. But they were
Well,
not in
and-
the same
and they
sense
may-
we've got now, though.
They may be having, taking part of that responsibility. I
Yeah,
just
it's
wanted
taken a
it to
lot.
be top of mind, and be aware as we're moving through this. All right? Do we need to change that salary structure, or do we keep it the same because of the area directors? We just have to think about that. Okay, he can come back in.
Okay.
Just top of mind. That's all I wanted was an awareness.
Because it will be hard if you give an increase to the deputy, and then if they decide they need 2 later, and then you can never go back.
Maybe something like about an interim.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, but the area people have really taken a lot of the pressure off of that. That's why he was able to move.
And that's probably exactly right. I just, when I see that vacant, and it has been for a year.
But there has been
Because you
other
know the
gaps
job is
filled
still
in.
getting done.
Right.
Some
I
kind
think
of-
it's
The
getting
area
done better
directors.
than it has ever been, actually.
With one?
With him.
Well, I don't feel like,
I think we're through discussing.
Yeah.
I think so too.
I just
Okay.
wanted to keep it, bring it up.
Process.
I guess he'll come back.
Gone back to the
Didn't
operation.
see him anywhere, but I'll text him.
You didn't see him? Well, okay.
Y'all ran him away, Beth.
I'm sorry. I
He like laughed, he wasn't listening or anything.
You get to go find him.
Well,
Okay, well, before we
Then they start
move,
crying.
go on with public.
can we move forward, public comment? I think our questions were pretty much
I think so.
answered from.
I think he did a good job. Presentation, I don't have any questions for him.
Okay, so he'll probably go back and listen to this later, so he did a good job, and right now, we don't have any further questions. Do we have any board comment? Public comment? Seeing none. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to recess. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have our executive session now, and then when we adjourn from that, then we'll do our appointed,
I think
because we
we've
have
got-
people waiting on us. Okay. Do I need to read a script now, Paul, or do I? This one?
The one for Lennox. Lennox is going first,
For Lennox? Okay, hold on. All right, the chair recognizes this board's attorney, Paul Gibbs.
Good afternoon, or good morning. Board members, I am notifying you that on behalf of Attorney David Lennox with Greenspoon Martyr, PA, advice is needed regarding the pending litigation styled City of Ocala versus School Board of Marion County. Pursuant to Section 286.011 Sub 8 Florida statutes, I have requested an attorney-client session with the board for the sole purpose of discussing pending litigation styled City of Ocala versus School Board of Marion County. I have asked the board's clerk to cause reasonable public notice of the time and date of this session and the names of the persons attending to be published. As required by the statute, only the superintendent or designee, board members, and legal counsel can be present. I have asked a court reporter to record the session, as is also required by statute. Her notes will be fully transcribed and filed with Ms. Elena Martinez Lopez as clerk of the school board. Upon conclusion of the litigation, the transcript will be made public record.
We acknowledge your request. The terms appear to be in compliance with Florida statutes. Board members, you have heard our attorney's request. As chair, I announce an attorney-client session. The statute states that I must also announce the commencement of the session, the estimated length of the session, and the names of the persons attending. This session will commence as soon as the room is cleared and the court reporter is set up, following a 5-minute recess to clear the room. It will last approximately 1 hour. For the record, the names of the persons attending are Kelly King, Eric Cummings, Nancy Stacy, Nancy Thrower, Beth McCall, Superintendent Heidi Mayer, School Board Attorney Paul Gibbs, and Attorney David Lennox with Green Spoon and Martyr, PA. I declare a brief recess to be followed by an attorney-client session. We are recessed at 11:16.